Dear Eminem, what are you doing, dude? Cultural phenomenon, top selling rapper of all time, but you already knew this. And because you already know this, it's left me sitting here listening to your new project like, what are you doing? Now, in reality, objectively, this album isn't that bad. In fact, if anybody else were to drop this album, I wouldn't think it was half bad. Let me rephrase that. I don't think it's half bad. My problem, and a lot of other people's problem, comes in when you are the man who released the Slim Shady LP. You are the man who released the Marshall Mathers LP. Hell, even for me, my generation, you released Recovery. And that leaves everybody, literally everybody, the newer generation like me, and even the older generation who knew you back from those projects initially, looking at this going, what are you doing? Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, Music to Be Murdered By, very good album name. I really liked it. I went to this album thinking that maybe you just get back on your bullshit. Maybe you go back to doing what you were doing before. I was like, yes, we're gonna get some old M. We're gonna get, you know, his best project in a while. I do think this is your best project out of the last three. Not gonna lie to you, but it's still not near your best. And I know you've rapped about this before, you know, your current work being compared to your past work when you were in your prime, whatever, I don't care. This album alone is good. This album compared to the rest of your discography, which is what it'll be compared to for the rest of time, kind of shaky. So I went into this project thinking that we were gonna get some old style bars, but the very first thing you said on this album was, they said on my last album I sounded bitter. No, I sound like a spitter. Now, that's disappointing for a couple different reasons. That's not how you should start an album. That's not how an intro should go. The intro of an album should be strong. It should set the tone for the album. It's like a hook in an essay. It's like a climax in a movie. It should be strong. It should be something that you remember the album by. No, you didn't do that here, and it kind of sucks. When I heard that, as soon as this album started, I kind of realized that, hey, we're just going to be getting more of Kamikaze, which isn't a bad thing. Again, not a terrible project objectively. It kind of sits in the same boat as this album. You know, but I get it. You were hungry before. Back when you were younger, you had something to prove. It was you versus them. And now that you've lost that, it's hard to make songs for you. I get it. I completely understand. But you name drop Tech 9 and Jay-Z, even 2 Chainz. Do what they're doing. When you make an album now, it doesn't have to be as exuberant as your old albums were. Instead of looking out at everybody else, look in to yourself, much like Jay-Z did with 444. And when you say things like, they said my last album I sounded bitter, who's they? Because it's not defined in the album. Is it your haters? You mentioned haters a couple times, but so does every other rapper. But still, they is just the critics. Is that how it is? The same people you got at on the last album? I'm starting to think that Paul Rosenberg's skit off of Kamikaze is kind of true here. Because outside of substance, we're not getting much from you. We're getting more attempts at love songs and more attempts at a club song. Listen, M, nobody's gonna be turning to you for a club song in 2020. That's just how it is. We got Roddy Ricch, we got Meg Thee Stallion, we got The Baby, we got all these other people to turn to for a club song. We're not going to M. And to me, with these love songs, it's just, it almost feels like you're just dropping albums to try to find that next hit. To find that I Need a Doctor with Skylar Grey. You want that big last hit to send you off in retirement. You just want a bunch of money to come in just to really cap it off. I'm judging. I don't know if you need money or not. I highly doubt you need money. You are the, most selling artist ever. So maybe you don't. I don't know. It just almost seems like you're fishing for something that you're not getting with these love records. Because again, much like the club anthems, club bars, nobody's turning for you. Nobody's turning to you for any kind of love song. I do say this out of love though. Like, I got respect for you and I want this to stop because it just doesn't look good. And this entire video has been negative, I know. So let's say some positive things. I think Ya Ya is a good song. I really like it a lot. I really like the songs you've done with Slaughterhouse, minus Joe Budden, which, what the fuck? I'm an avid listener of the Joe Budden podcast. You didn't invite him. At least invite him. He would have said no. Yeah, you're right. If you were assuming he was going to say no, he would have said no because he's retired. but you could have at least invited him. But 3/4 of Slaughterhouse, and you guys still made a somewhat decent and enjoyable track. Pretty cool. Also, what's the other one? I Will or something like that? I need a track list here. Yeah, that song's cool. My only qualm with that is it doesn't sound like it was recorded now. It sounds like you from 15 years ago. Little Engine, another good one in my opinion. I think that the hook can be kind of strenuous to listen to, but hey, that's fine. Okay, and that brings me to Stepdad. You're trying to relate again, man. I get it. You're trying to relate to people, but ooh, just not like that. Not like that. And for just about every other track on here, for the love of God, stop with the fucking pop stars. Stop. Nobody wants to hear you with Ed Sheeran. Nobody wants to hear you with Skylar Grey anymore. The best features you have on here were for Slaughterhouse. I'll give it to Anderson .Paak and Don Toliver. That's it. There is a great album in here somewhere. You just got to get rid of the bullshit. But again, this video is still being kind of negative. Let me pull it in a more positive direction. I think you need to take a break. Like it's almost like you saw what Logic was doing, releasing an album every 8 goddamn months, and you want to do that now. I would highly recommend you don't, because you had such a good watertight discography until, I would say, Relapse, where people kind of started to fall off. But still, up until Marshall Mathers LP2, you still had a good discography. Like, I would be able to just play any song you've ever put out and just be like, hey, this is okay. But you get to Revival and it's like, River? Ew. But it's making it worse. And I know to taint an entire legacy isn't really a thing, and you don't want it to be, and people have yelled at you about it. I don't think these albums are tainting your legacy. I think you're still one of the greatest rappers of all time, and that's no debate. Honestly, it's not a debate. That's not just an I think. That's a consensus of the community. You, fucking 10 years ago, couldn't be stopped. We get it. We respect you for it. Think about it this way. You have a pond of super clear water in your backyard of your mansion. You know, but you've taken a couple shits in it. Just 1 or 2, not too much to ruin the color of the water or anything. Just, they're there. He could see it. And then all of a sudden you decide to get a giant bucket of shit, put some extra clear water in there, and then dump that whole thing into your pond. This doesn't ruin the entire color of your water. It may be a little bit foggy, but it's still generally clear. But what this does is it still perturbs people from going near your water. And I just can't help but feel like that's what you keep doing at this point. You keep dumping buckets of shit with a little bit of clear water in it. And that's what I'm saying when I say that there's a good album in here somewhere. This is a lot of songs. Like, there's like 16 tracks here. There's good ones in there. That's the clear water. I just don't like the rest of the stuff. And that's my opinion. And I'm allowed to have it. You're allowed to have yours. If you think they're all great, by all means, go ahead. Bump your own music in your own house, I guess. But it's not tainting your legacy. It's just kind of deterring people from wanting to listen to your music in general. Dude, M was on top of the world, man. He was dropping songs like Just Lose It. He was like the best in the world. Now we can't listen to Just Lose It or The Real Slim Shady without knowing that you later down the line drop Revival. It doesn't make that song any less impactful for its time or any less good than what it is. It's just kind of something that's in the back of everybody's mind if they want to go back and listen to that. But anyway, I enjoy the album. It's gotten a lot of burn from me. It'll get a lot more. Thank you for releasing this music. I will certainly play it for many years to come. Sincerely, Chase.